All right, time is now 6:04 PM and I'll call to order the regularly scheduled McMinnville Fire District Board meeting. First up is roll call directors. I'll call on Chief Godfrey to do roll call.
President Garvin,
Here.
Vice President Smith.
Here.
Treasurer Trapp,
Here.
Director Sparrow,
Here.
and Secretary Pratt.
Here.
Everybody's in attendance.
Next up is Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll also call on Chief Godfrey to lead us in this first meeting.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Brings us to changes to the agenda. Any changes to the agenda by any directors or staff? All right, next up is consent agenda, which has our minutes from our 12/14, 12/21, and 12/28 meetings. And this look good. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. I'll second that.
We have a motion by Vice President Smith and a second by Treasurer Trapp. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That takes us to financial report. And I'll call on Chief Godfrey if he wants to brief us on that at all.
Yeah, thank you. So we're working on refining, trying to get you guys more information at your board meetings as was requested and rightfully so. And so as time goes on and as we get our financial staff in place, we'll get a better packet, more in-depth packet. But I did want to get you guys some information for this meeting. You'll see this sheet here shows our ambulance revenues for the last 6 months. And if you look at your budget sheets here, which is sheets, you'll see the revenues to date. You will show just over $1 million in ambulance revenue to date. I have an updated sheet as of just about 20 minutes ago. It's about 1.2 million to date, and that's because we got the January numbers from the city as far as our revenue. So we will continue to refine that and continue to bring you updated budget information. We did put in the city just yesterday provided us also kind of an updated where we're at as far as their budget, or excuse me, their I guess I'll call it profit and loss detail sheet. We have hired an interim financial accountant to help us. We are going to start meeting with her on a weekly basis, and we're going to ask for monthly profit and loss statements for you guys to be able to see. So you can we'll be able to see where we're at on a month-to-month basis. That will also help us because probably come about next month, we'll start having to discuss budget committee members and preparation of next year's fiscal budget. Later on in tonight's meeting, we'll talk about that position that was budgeted, but we'll talk about that later. And we'll start preparing that. I still, the new guy here, I still don't actually have access to the actual budget. So Chief Hannafin has been very helpful in that process because she does have access to the budget. So we're working on those logins and those access issues as we move forward. As you all have heard, our emails are less than adequate right now. City IT is transitioning us from the city's server to our own server. It's been a struggle. They're working very hard. They've been very receptive, but we're getting blocked in a lot of places. We found that the county has been blocking our emails. We've got most of those unblocked. Apparently they're blocking our board of directors also because you guys didn't get your packets on time. We have a payroll issue going on right now. Tomorrow is the first, tonight was technically the first direct deposit for our first, district. It did not go as planned. So we have to write checks for each and every individual. We're working on the notification process for that. Their next day aired tomorrow. We'll work on handing all those out. We're working on notification processes for that. So less than ideal, definitely. Part of that was an email issue also. That information was sent via email that was not received by the firm that we're using. So again, new systems, new transitions, no one fault of anything or anybody, but we definitely need to work on those. Again, that will come up later in this process too, but we'll all continue to work on refining the process. We did notify the union. We have notified each and every individual. And tomorrow, as all staff will work on making sure that everybody gets checks, even if we have to deliver or such. So we'll work through all those processes, and those are just, those new district stumbling blocks that we have to work through as time goes on. So you'll see the large loan payments. Those are the loan payments that we borrowed through that transition process from the city to the district. Those payments were made. Those are for the loan as well as the monitor interest, and then the upfront rental through the IGA of the drill tower out at the training facility. So the 99-year lease, $1 a year, but we pay 99 up front. Those were also made. And then we had a check, and we handed them directly to the city. So those have all been made up to date. Tomorrow, we'll talk about that here in a minute. We are working tomorrow to get myself access to being a signator. We're going to talk about that here in a minute under a resolution. So I'll wait to talk about that unless there's any questions on the financial side for me.
Is payroll squared away to be direct deposit by next cycle in 2 weeks?
Yes. It was more of a timing issue, an email issue, and that type of issue than it was. It didn't work. We had already confirmed that the direct deposit worked. We only got one kickback. It was a volunteer in which we had corrected that. So we knew it worked. It was more of a timing issue of getting it in prior to the cutoff. The email didn't help anything. And it being a new process was a struggle. So, so we'll work through those. But yes, to answer your question.
Understood. Any other questions for Chief? All right, thank you for that. That takes us to public comment. Did we get any public comment cards tonight? Janet?
I didn't fill out Janet Redmond, I didn't fill out a public comment card, but I just want to say, you have before you this evening the branding committee report. And as a public member participating in that committee, I'm hoping you will choose one of the top rated designs tonight. I don't think there's a reason to send it back for more. I think we got some good input, but I'm sure Dan can be presenting that, presentation from the committee, but I appreciated the opportunity to participate in the committee.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the audience like to speak tonight? Public comment? Anybody on Zoom, if you'd like to speak, just use the raise your hand function and Chief Hannafin will unmute you. All right, hearing none, we'll close public comment and move on to our business action items this evening. And item A is a request approval to hire a consultant to assist in updating the district standards of cover dated 2009 and other related strategic organizational documents as needed. And I'll call on Chief Godfrey to brief us on that.
So one of my goals as fire chief is to kind of have a two parallel approach. We have internal goals and objectives. Those are the hirings, the policies and procedures, equipment, maintenance, safety, the internal hiring that we'll talk about here in a little while. Those type of things are large lifts. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're excited to do it. But in a parallel path so that we're on a good streamlined path, we need to update our roadmaps, if you will, where we're going, how we get there, to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page as a team. That's from the community's perspective, from the board's perspective, from our administrative team's perspective, from the Lions perspective, the volunteers and such. One of those ways of doing that are the standards of coverage, in which the district or the department at the time, the district now does have. It's a 2009 version. And those are pretty in-depth and time-consuming documents to produce as well as update. I will tell you, I have read through it. Update it's more of a produce. It's a pretty old document, not because of just age, but we have grown, we have changed. So I would say it's much more of a rewrite than it is just an update. So I would like the board to consider allowing us to go out and see if we can find a consultant that would help us with that process and maybe take the lead on the rewrite or the if we start from scratch, whichever, of that process to kind of help us so that we can continue with the things internally that we need to do day-to-day running calls and such. As well as I think there's other things that we'll find internally, whether we have policies and procedures, and we're kind of in this limbo where we have the policies and procedures, but we were in a process of moving those over to an electronic format that's a governed and monitored electronic format. We're about probably 50%-ish, maybe a little less. And maybe they can pick up small things like that where our policies and procedures can be updated and moved into that electronic format, just kind of bringing us up to today's standard from a safety and standard, if you will. I asked the board if it's something that you're interested in, willing. I would like to bring back a proposal if you were willing, that would give you more of a scope of work, more of a cost. But I wanted to discuss it with the board first to see if it was something that you would be willing to support moving forward.
And with that, we'll open up for discussion.
I will say it's a great idea and we should move forward on that. I'm supportive 100%. Standards of Cover is a great document for guiding operations and the entire organization. And 2009, so yeah, it's probably more than updating. Absolutely.
I agree. I think especially being a new fire district and a new business in itself, that's one of the most important things to know what direction we're moving. So I'm in agreement.
Makes sense to me to get you some help on that. For sure.
I'm in agreement here. You got better things to do than that stuff, so.
Yeah, full support for me. I think it's important that we have a Northern Star for our organization, and this will get us there. And it doesn't just give us that from a business side, but it gives line staff and volunteers that as far as knowing where we're going as a long-term vision.
Yep. Okay, I'll move forward, do a little more research, bring back maybe a couple proposals, couple ideas, maybe a little bit more scope with some costs associated to it. Probably not the next board meeting, but the one after that. So probably within the next 30 days. So would be my goal.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. That takes us to item B, which is approve Fire Chief Godfrey as a signer at First Federal and discuss amending resolution 2023-03 to change the district's authority and control person to the fire chief and potentially decreasing the number of signers on the account. Also discuss users for online banking with the potential of adding a finance position.
So we learned today that no good deed goes unpunished. So we thought it'd be a real good idea to set up a meeting tomorrow to add me so that I could sign checks. Right now, we're doing just fine. Amy's completely competent and capable of signing checks, and she has been doing that. And so it's been going just fine. With that said, we found out today to add me, all 9 of us, that includes the 5 of you, have to go over at the same time and sign to add me to be able to sign. We might be able to kind of get away with not everybody going at the same time. They prefer that, but so really the question is, and then on top of it, in your resolution, it does still name Amy, as the district, authority. That doesn't mean that that couldn't stay, but I think the board should review that if that's your intent, or if it was the fire chief was your intent. And then also number 4, again, later on in your packet, but we will be considering a financial, type of person. So would that fall into that? As board members come on and off, after your terms, as administrative staff come on and off, as we add like maybe potential finance person or an HR person. Each time to add signers or remove signers, it'll take all 9 of us to sign. That's okay if that's the board's desire. I have no problem with it, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention because we weren't under that impression that it would just add the fire chief to sign a check would take 9 of us to sign. So I just wanted you guys to know that, review it. And tomorrow we are still going to meet. I won't be able to sign checks after tomorrow until all of us are able to sign and say that I can. But we'll at least get the framework done. And then I might be driving to all your houses or something. I don't know how they'll ask us to do it, but we'll need to get everybody's signature, including the staff that you see on there. So I just open up for your discussion. Again, if 9's the number, that's fine. But I just thought now would be the time to read.
So I do think we actually have to physically go down and go in front of the notary and sign just like you did when we started this account. Amy was set up in the position that she was initially because Rich was going out the door and we set this account up. I still think having the ops chief as a signer is a good idea, but me personally, I think the fire chief should be the authority on the account. And I would be fine trimming down the list for efficiency reasons. I think over at the city, there's myself as council president, the mayor, the city manager, and the finance director are the signers for the city. Okay. Just for perspective. But I'll open that up to you guys.
Yeah, I don't think it was the intent to require all 9 of us in order to make changes or add people. I think it was just to have us as being allowed to sign. So I don't know where
That's a banking regulation, so
So-
that's outside of our control. If we want to be on the account, then we gotta go in each time.
So I'm fine with being removed and having just our board president and whoever's doing the finance side along with them.
So we want that to be board treasurer and board president. And then from the staff side, do you guys have? Do you want it to just be the fire chief and ops chief, or and Donna, or whoever the finance person is, or?
It would be the finance person. I think the fire chief and ops chief, I think would probably be appropriate.
Okay. We're all gonna go in and sign tomorrow. Do you think they can make that pivot tomorrow so we can go in and sign to like remove ourselves or?
I think some of you work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a meeting at 9. I think that's what time it was. We can go in at 9 and see, and I can shoot out a group text to everybody and kind of let you know what maybe next steps would be. I think she said, correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but she said that they prefer that we're all in at once, but they could kind of make some
She said that
exceptions.
as well, so we could always set it next week.
But for payroll tomorrow, you can send all the checks, yes?
Yeah, we're all.
We've already worked it out. Amy's been, she's been signing all, probably signed 20 or 30 checks already, so we've already worked it out internally.
So there's no like tight timeline on
Nope.
this.
No, it's just wanting to.
Yeah.
Send it moving forward.
You guys good with that?
Yeah.
The board treasurer, board president, Chief Godfrey, Chief Hannafin, and then
Manager.
Donna, our finance manager?
I think we would go to Donna now, and then we may have to make a change if you were to approve a finance person, or we would leave Donna alone and add the finance person.
Okay. Sounds good. That works for me.
So
I think we need to vote on that, yeah.
I think vote to amend.
Yeah. So, I entertain the motion to amend resolution 2023-03. With the remaining signers to be, board president, board treasurer, fire chief Godfrey, ops chief Hannafin, Donna Fleshman, and that's it for now, right?
And if I may, I think you were the district authority under 3.
And change district authority from Chief Hannafin to Chief Godfrey. Would anybody like to?
So moved.
Okay. So, moved as amended by Vice President Smith
Second.
and second by Director Sparrow. Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Ended. That takes us to other business, board committee and liaison reports, and first up would be LoSAP, and I'll call on Treasurer Kraft if he has anything for us tonight.
Nothing new with LoSAP.
Okay, thank you for that, and then call on Director Sparrow for anything regarding branding.
Yes. So in your packet, included 2 mock-ups for a logo patch, if you would put it. So this would be, our idea would be that this uniforms, wheel. So these were the top 2 go-getters on our Facebook poll. It was out for a week. We got a great response, I think. I mean, well over 1,000 likes. Now, there wasn't anything that limited people, so there could be some duplicates in there. So be, liked one as well as another, or 2 or 3. There wasn't anything set up that made you could only choose one. But I felt like a great response. The top 2 matched up to what the committee felt was, a good quality product. Very, very happy with the designer, the company that we went with, that put these together. A lot of options. Originally, we thought we'd get 3, and she actually, at no charge, gave us 8 options that we felt like might as well put them out. See what people thought. So there were comments put together kind of by Janet, just a little, kind of shortening of what people had thought. We got everything from, where's the spruce goose, to avoiding colorings. People that didn't like any of them and wanted to keep our prior patch. And then quite a few people supporting certain designs. There were some questions about uniform colors that people wanted to know in order to help make their decision. But ultimately, from the committee, that we had a couple different options or thoughts. One was to present these 2 to the board tonight and have the board decide which logo we want to go with, or if the board would rather not make that decision and have it be the fire chief's decision out of these 2, we could do that as well. So kind of open to you, gentlemen, as far as how you want to proceed from here.
Did line staff have an opinion on which one they?
Line staff was represented and involved in the process on the committee. They were also able to vote on the Facebook poll. We didn't specifically go and like poll each person as far as line staff, because we really wanted to involve the public as well in this. As far as I know, there was really only like one strong opinion as far as leaving something out or off, and I can open it up to President Godfrey as far as whether he's heard anything else from.
I have not heard anything else.
So.
I mean, they're both similar.
We think,
How close were they in the voting?
they weren't that close. 2 and 3 were a lot closer than 1 and 2. So if you want to know the front runner, I can definitely. Yeah.
Oh, so the numbers on here aren't who the front runners are?
Oh, yeah, no, it is on here. So,
Yep.
yes, this was by far, the top vote getter.
I mean, from a printing and production standpoint, number 1 has less colors to it, so it's gonna be easier to reproduce and put on things for us. We're gonna wanna be conscious of costs, but I think they both look fine.
I'll just say that it's great work. It's a great design. I think it captures the community really nicely. I like them both. Community likes number 1. That seems to be the favorite of the community. I would support that.
Secretary Pratt, any comments?
I'm thinking we should stay with the will of the people, go with the number with the hardest votes and call it good.
Director Sparrow?
I personally, I think that's fantastic. Like I said, we kind of reserve the right as a committee to, bring forward 2 or 3 or however many, especially if the voting was close, but it's kind of nice that the top vote getter is one that looks great and I think would represent us well, and so. As just a member of that committee, I'd be completely comfortable.
And did you guys go back and forth on designs? I know the color palettes got posted, but design wise, you guys had a few different designs.
Yeah.
But before you.
Yep. Started very, very bare bones as far as style, size. And kind of locked that down and then started throwing out ideas for what we felt was important in the patch, and some stuff was brought up that was discussed and talked about and kind of passed over, and then other stuff was brought in. So I think that was all taken into account and represented well in the final product. So.
Treasurer Traff?
I agree with Pratt as far as, I think it looks like it won by a long shot, number 1. And I like the design, appreciate all your guys' work. Yeah. I'm comfortable with number 1.
Any final comments? Vice
No,
President?
like I said, I think number 1 is the clear winner of the community, and I like them both, but number 1 is fantastic and I think works great.
Yeah. The comments from staff? No?
I would like to recognize Chief Darby and Donna specifically from that. They put in a lot of time, not just during the meetings, but their off time. Donna was able to find a great company that worked well with us and put this together and listened to all the stuff that we had. Like the community members that were present and did show up, Janet especially, and so.
And then we'll own full rights to this, so we'll have the vector file, the fonts, everything.
Yep. And then the only thing is we'll be fighting Chinese New Year to get our actual patches in.
Challenge points.
Challenge coins on stuff. I guess the majority of them across the board are made in China, and as of February, they'll go into their Chinese New Year, so we'll see.
Sounds good. Is there any stateside options for patches, or it's just a lot more expensive?
There might be, like I said, I think the majority kind of go with, but we'll definitely look into, you know, especially if we run into issues, we're not locked down to any
Gotcha.
specific company or anything.
The designer's not tied to a producer or anything. We can go through everyone.
And she specifically, because she doesn't do patches, she made sure that all of our files, all of the digital artwork and all that stuff would work with whatever company.
Okay. And then, Chief Hannafin, website wise, is this
Yeah,
kind of the last piece we need for the website?
yeah. The Snyder one. Yeah, so thank you.
Awesome. Any other final comments on branding stuff? I think, our consensus number one is what we're moving forward with, and thank you to everybody that worked on it, staff and community members, and anybody who's on Zoom that engaged and shared it on Facebook or voted. Thank you for that. And that'll take us to our next order of business. Board information reports. Anything from there? You got box down here, so. All right, next up would be department reports, and first up is local 3099, if they have anything.
Yep. Thanks. Good evening. So as the chief briefed you, we have a payroll issue that we were alerted to this evening. Just about 2 hours ago at this point. I do have a real concern with that in that we do have people gone on vacation. We do have some projected significant ice and snow, so I'm concerned that maybe people can't come in and get the paper checks. I respect that we got them in here in a timely manner, but something that hasn't been talked about tonight that I think we all would probably expect is that if this costs anybody anything because of the issues, not blaming anybody or pointing fingers at anybody, but if this does cost members some overdraft fees or something, that my thought would be that the district would take care of our members with that. With that, we did talk about the email issue, but to highlight it even more, Chief Law, to his respect, called me. He also sent out several different messages in several different ways to get to our members to let them know of the issue. One of those ways was email again, and I did not receive that email. So we still have the email issue. I know that we're paying for that issue, and so maybe that's something that should be looked at on your guys' level, not mine, obviously. But for me, if I was paying, you know, a entity to provide a service and it's causing these issues, I might ask a few more questions of that entity. On top of that, so we have had a great working relationship with admin, especially these last, you know, about a month and a half. We've been working pretty diligently on civil service, having some good conversation about that, and really respect the ask for input from the union on that. We did also submit a letter for negotiations, so we'll be starting those. Obviously, probably going to give the new admin a little bit of time to get their feet under them. But negotiation should be opening up soon. I just got back, and a couple of my other members just got back from the educational conference for the union in Salem. Some pretty interesting things came up there that I'd like to share. Number one, the apprenticeship program. It's been pretty successful. It's a statewide program. It's essentially money from the state. It covers all the expenses for these apprentices. Or most all the expenses for the apprentices if you stay under a certain number. And it's a great program to get people in the door. Having said that, I also understand that we have a bed issue, so we can't bring in a lot of people right now, but it's something to keep on the radar. Cause it's a really great program that's out there and it's been pretty successful so far. There's also been some talk of the short session coming up with what is called the EMS modernization, which from what I understood, which was a very brief conversation, is that it might take the control of the EMS system from counties and put it to the providers, particularly government providers. With that, they're looking at maybe doing a trauma change too, and putting all of the trauma systems underneath one big umbrella. And everybody come to the table with that. The other thing was apparently there's this $10 property tax that might be on the ballot this go around, coming from some of the large timber companies. They're gonna say that that's for fire services. That money gets dispersed at the state level and probably not a great situation for us. And then the firefighters voted to endorse Andrea Salinas this year. And if you guys remember back when we went and we're going for the fire district, we had Mrs. Salinas here in the station. She did a tour. She gave us her support. So it was a really wonderful thing. She does cover our area. And she's done a lot for us here in this last few months. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. That's what I got.
Thank you very much. Any questions for local 309 president? All right, thank you. Next up, we have volunteer president Goodman. Anything this evening? Nothing tonight, and that takes us back to the fire chief's report.
Yes, I will.
Oh, all right.
So this last weekend, we, McMinnville Fire and McMinnville Water and Light and the local, Frontier franchise, we all took the community Christmas lights down. So that was about all we had.
Any of them get damaged or anything throughout the?
I think we had a couple damaged and we don't know how they got there, so we'll get them fixed though.
Fair enough. Thank you much.
Thank you.
And that takes us to fire chief's report.
I'll start on that note since the union and the volunteers just spoke. Chief Hannafin and myself spoke a couple hours ago, and we will be looking at, or we are working on upstaffing for the next day and a half due to the inclement weather. So we're working with the volunteers as well as the career staff to upstaff the engine as well as hopefully a couple of grass rigs or brush rigs, I'm sorry. I gotta make sure I get my terminology here straight, sorry. And or an engine that they can swing to. So we're projected to have some pretty crummy weather Friday night into Saturday. So we're gonna make sure that the crews are taken care of both internally as well as making sure that we can get to our customers as needed. So we're working on that. I'll piggyback on the civil service discussion. We're deep into the civil service. I would say we have a very good rough draft. I'm assuming everybody knows civil service, but civil service is what we're utilizing for our hiring as well as our promotional processes now that we're a district. Now that we're not underneath the city, utilizing their processes. We'll have our own process for that. Really what I don't want to say stuck on, but what we're working through right now is whether our single role paramedics fall under the civil service or whether they don't. It's a mixed bag. Some do utilize them, some don't. If we don't put them under it, we would have to have a process for them anyways to test and promote and or appeal and or be disciplined, things like that. They do fall under Local 3099's union contract. I lean towards, just to be frank, having them in there. There is some other ideas, if you will. We have reached out to legal counsel. To be frank, it's whatever we want to do. So that's really the last piece. We've worked with the union. We've worked with HR. Everybody's been working well together. So I see that come into fruition very soon. Questions on that? In your. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, sorry. In your amended packet, in your handouts there, you have finance manager and administrative services director job description. Both of these positions, I'm going to assume were discussed prior to me being here. They were budgeted by Chief Leifert in this fiscal year's budget. These are, in layman's terms, kind of your HR individual and your finance director, if you will. The name change is specific to the ability to manage additional people and manage additional divisions. So for like the administrative services director, any IT services, things like that could fall under that individual, not just your HR. Because we're a smaller entity, we don't have all those different divisions that a city or such would have. Whereas your finance manager will be specific to our financials, both fire as well as EMS. Jenny does a phenomenal job on the EMS side and will continue to do that. And they'll work collaboratively hand in hand. I bring this to you just for your review. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I would like to move forward with a process to a competitive process to open these, post them, and get these hired sooner than later for multiple reasons. One, we need the help, as you've heard, from a staff perspective. Two, we have budget coming up and budget preparation coming up. Three, I'm the new fire chief, so any staff would be helpful. And these positions, like I said, were budgeted for this fiscal year. So if you guys want to take a look at it, review them, I don't per se need an answer tonight, if you will. But these are what we'd like to move forward with from an administrative perspective.
But the pay range is.
We're doing a salary study right now, specific. I can tell you in the budget, both of them were budgeted at 145,000, which we wouldn't be at that level. That's above even what the chiefs make. But we are doing a current salary study right now. I will tell you on the administrative services director, the comparable size is in the top end is about your 138, your low is about in the mid to upper 90s. For your finance manager, you're in the 90s to lower 100s, 110-ish is what we're finding right now. But Vicky's currently doing a salary study for us.
Thank you.
It will be under what was budgeted by far.
And the cost would include all the roll-ups, healthcare and everything else. So it does add up. My only concern would be as you're just getting into the budget, I realize they've been budgeted already, but for you to just review the budget to be comfortable that this is within the budget that, and that you give that to us, that you've got the review process.
So I actually have, we met with Amy, the finance Amy Conifer, who we contract with. She's the one that looked it up in our budget. We do have it budgeted. I am comfortable with that. With that said, I'm happy to meet with her again and confirm that. I also did confirm that if for some reason we were unable to fill these, that Amy will be able to continue providing those services for us through this budget year and help us with an additional year's budget preparation if that was necessary, if for some reason we were unsuccessful. So I did meet and discuss that. And I will be meeting with her on a weekly basis now in addition.
And your ideal timeline would be just kind of as soon as possible?
I would like to do a posting for 2 weeks and do a first draw at 2 weeks to see if we have viable candidates. If not, we could continue it for another 2 weeks. If we did, then we would poll those candidates and do a formal process if we had viable candidates.
Any other questions for Chief? These positions were budgeted for and were talked about a few different times, and the reason that they never came up is I wanted to hold off on doing any hiring for these, until we had a chief in pocket and let the chief build out their team. Cause our job's to hire the chief, it's the chief's job to hire those underneath them, and so I didn't wanna be, stacking the deck before we knew who our chief was gonna be.
100%. And it sounds like you're confident that the need is real
Very much.
and it can be within budget.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for that.
Hiring update, staff, did an excellent job. We were fully hired for one day. Unfortunately, one individual's called us back and said they were just kidding. So, we are -1, on the dual role side and -1 on the single role side. Unfortunately, on the dual role side, we will not be able to go back and test again until we have civil service completed. And unfortunately is not the accurate word, but we will have to wait for that. So once we get civil service up and running, we'll put together that test and we'll put on another test moving forward. But still, even with that said, they're at their best staffing that they've had for years, many years. So kudos to everybody from the line staff to the administrative staff for getting them to where they're at today. And it's taken a lot of burden off of everybody, and we need to continue that. We need to continue to add staff. We need to continue to add that third firefighter to that engine as soon as possible. I will just tell you in this meeting, it is my intention to you, Vice President Smith, when I get my hand around that budget and I can review it hands-on, I likely very much sooner than later will be coming to ask for permission to move forward with adding that third person sooner than later. And then we'll discuss what we do from there. I personally believe from what I have seen and the research I've done, we have that now, but until I can say yes, and until I can look you all in the eyes and say, I am confident, I wouldn't make that move. But as soon as I have that in my pocket, I will be coming forward with that. So
Thank you for that.
Engine 15 and vehicle replacement policy. I've spent the last week and a half meeting with all staff, meeting with the administrative staff. I've met with all the shifts. I've met with all the officers. I have a meeting set up with the union executive staff. We have also set up labor management meetings on a monthly basis. And one of the directions that I've asked and started to move forward is more of a policy-driven decision-making matrix, if you will. One of the things that came up was, vehicle replacement. What matrices do we use? When do we replace them? What are the mileage, or what's that matrix? Engine 15 was what sparked that. We've had an engine that's been out of service secondary to a pump issue for over 2 years now. There was lots of numbers thrown out. I can tell you the numbers that I heard, I'm pleasantly happy. We did get an actual bid back to fix that engine. It's a little over $14,200 to get that engine, a very nice engine, back up and running as a third engine and or reserve engine type of situation. So we will be moving forward with getting that fixed. It's going to have the oil changes and a few other, DOT type things, because it hasn't been DOT inspect. Well, it is now, but it has not been DOT compliant for the last couple of years because it's basically been just a driver type of rig, not an in-service apparatus. So we'll take care of all that. But here in the very near future, we'll have that engine back up and running, and we'll have a third engine a third type 1 engine in the fleet again. The city's urban renewal, just to have on your radar, the city is looking at a second urban renewal. The concern of that is, and it's been brought to my office a couple different times, the concern of that is it could hurt us as far as taxing. So it's just to be on your radar. Many are watching it. There isn't, per the IGA, the city is required to have a discussion with us. And we are also, we will also enter that discussion with them. And I have the mayor actually has reached out to me. We are working on setting up a meeting to discuss all kinds of things, but this will obviously likely be one of them. And so we'll keep that open communication with the city. like I said, from a fire chief standpoint, it's a concern from a taxation point of view. But it's just a proposal or a discussion, I should say. It's not even a proposal, but a discussion at this point, but just to be on your radar moving forward. Budget committee, I would recommend that we start discussing. I don't necessarily, it's up to you guys, but I don't necessarily think you need to do it tonight, but we probably should discuss putting our feelers out for budget committee members moving forward. As a district, it's usually a little bit easier, number one, to get people on those, and then number two, our budgets are usually easier because it's a single budget that we work with. But here within the next month, I think we should start working on finding them. I will work with Amy on starting to get, well, I'll see how this goes once we post. If it goes well, I might drag my feet just a little bit for that budget preparation time so I can bring Amy and the new employee in at the same time. If it looks like we're gonna have to pull more than one time, then I think I will move forward with Amy in preparing, or at least beginning to prepare next year's fiscal budget. So. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
I asked, what would the process look like for establishing a budget committee? Would we put it out to the community and ask for interested people to come in
Yep.
and apply, or just, okay?
Yeah, we could do the same as we're doing for the Civil Service Commission. I don't have that on the list, but I will talk about that. Yeah, and then we would just, we can appoint them, and yes.
Great.
We do have 6 individuals who did apply for our Civil Service Commission, just so we know. It was my recommendation that we hold off until the civil service rules are at least in the final draft form, just so that we don't appoint and or do something that would be outside of the civil service rules once adopted. So, but we do have, which I think is great. We have 6 people, at least last I heard. We might have more now. I don't know if you've heard anything different, but
When does that close?
The 16th, I think.
yeah. So I think that's great. ASA agreement, Chief Hannafin and I have set up a meeting with with Lindsay from the county. I have some concerns in the new ASA agreement as proposed. From a fire chief perspective and from a fire district perspective, specific to how it ties our hands in how we manage our resources. So I'll give you an example. They require a response time standard, for example, which is fine. I have no issues with that. But then they tell me how many ambulances I have to have on the road at a specific time. So at 2 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning, I have to have X. Well, the problem with that is that doesn't allow me to fluctuate and be able to meet my response times as my call volumes fluctuate by year or by time. And that data that they've got in the ASA is already 2 years old, and the contract is not even signed and official yet. So, so I'm going to ask them if they will remove the requirement of and maybe make it a recommendation or something like that, and hold the standard to your response time, because that's truly what they're looking for. Allow the fire chief to determine how we'll meet that response time standard. Because if they tie my hand, I can't add 7 ambulances 24 hours a day, but I might be able to add 7 ambulances during the day and 3 at night if that's what my calls state during the days. The second thing is they are counting all calls. So it doesn't matter if it's an emergency response or a non-emergency response. And so, you know, my question is how does that, I don't know if that passes a straight face test, because if I'm going on an alpha level call, normally if a delta or echo level call came in, you would divert from that call because it's an emergent call. But the reality is your response times standards are the same, you know, and that doesn't make sense. The third thing is they do speak of extenuating circumstances for like weather, and like fires, like if we've got large fires going on or such. I would like them to consider language in there for hospital wait times. And for those of you in the fire service know, it is not uncommon anymore to have 2-hour wait times at a hospital. But yet they're gonna hold me accountable that says you're not meeting your response times when I don't have any choice. I can't leave the hospital. So either A, we'll have to come to a legal approach of leaving patients at the hospital that are not transferred, which there is a way to do that, but I'm not a fan of it. Or B, we end up potentially either being fined or having issues with our ASA for not meeting response time standards. And then C, we obviously need to look at our deployment plan and model, which I am dedicated to doing, to make sure that we meet our response time standards as set, which right now does need to be looked at and does need to be dealt with. So she graciously was open to those suggestions, or I shouldn't say suggestions, excuse me, open to the meeting and discussions, and we'll see where it goes. I believe it's on the 18th. So we'll continue to work on that. Chief Darby is working with the city on a task force that meets on February 13th with city council. It's a homeless, it's a open burning task force, if you will. And that they're going to discuss, the increase in resources, calls to, your warming fires, your critical fires that we go to, police goes to, that are causing damage to buildings, causing damage to infrastructure, causing damage to property, things like that, and are increasing call volumes, increasing, responses, decreasing our ability to make those other calls. So Chief Darby is the lead for fire, and they'll be presenting on the night of the 13th at City Council. The president already discussed, we did receive the letter from the IFF. We will be discussing. I would like to ask the board how you guys would like to proceed. Would you guys like to discuss a work session internally so we can discuss how you guys would like us to proceed with negotiations? Or how would you guys like to proceed as far as that? Most of the time the fire chief in executive session would get his or her marching orders from the governing body. We would discuss, the parameters, if you will. We would discuss those type of things. The fire chief would receive the marching orders and then would give their negotiating team their orders moving forward. I will not be the lead negotiator. We'll work that the different path, but I will take the direction from the board and make sure that direction is followed with the negotiating team.
Yeah, I definitely think meeting an executive session to wrap our head around everything. Good.
Okay, I can work with you to set that up.
Yeah. That work for you guys?
I see value in it for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I have for tonight, unless you have something for me. Well, let me rephrase that. That's all I have in this section, unless you have something for me.
I've been approached by numerous people about the Civil Service Commission. Do they have to live in the city?
District.
McMinnville, just in the fire district that we serve? Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, good.
And there are applications on the front desk.
On this.
Are they online too? I thought they were too. I think they're online also. Okay.
And I believe we actually left an out in there, like if
Yes.
somebody brought tremendous value and like we didn't have a qualified candidate, we could go outside the district boundary, but it would have to be an exception and not the rule.
Gotcha.
But yeah, anywhere in the McMinnville Fire District, they're good.
Well, to piggyback off that, so not necessarily the ASA, but the fire district?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Takes us to correspondence.
You received a letter from the counties. I think it's just specifically, I think it's just if any of you were not going to fulfill your term, you needed to notify the county by the 17th, if I remember correctly. If you are all going to fulfill your terms, then I think it's just a signature and a send back by the 7th. I think it's the 17th.
Good. Any questions on that? Thank you for that. Other correspondence is I received a email from SDAO with our final bill for our chief hire. It's a little bit below 4,000 and they had a ceiling of 6,000, so. And when email's working, Donna will have that in her email. Any other correspondence? Have you guys heard anything from community members or anything?
Just, I've been approached by a couple people curious about a date for swearing in for our new chief.
You know, we do have a date in mind right now. We're just not announcing it because we're trying to secure location and final ideas, but as soon as we have something, that'll be out to the full board as soon as possible. And hopefully by the start of the week. That work for you?
Yep.
Informational items. We have SDAO conference in Seaside. It's kind of last call to register for that, and you gotta pick your classes too, so it's something we need to take on or print out the paper copy and get that to Donna tomorrow. What, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, it's Friday, Saturday is the majority. Thursday night, there's a little bit going on. It's more of a meet and greet type of deal. Saturday or Friday and Saturday are the two big days. Sunday morning's just a breakfast and farewell. And the board meeting is Saturday night and the banquet.
Will you be attending? Will staff be attending?
Yes.
I know myself will be going, Chief Godfrey will be going. I believe we also need to designate who's voting on behalf of the district. I think we get one vote as a district. So, does anybody else wish to attend or available to attend? I think having a couple of us there would be good. February 8th and 9th, or something like that.
Night.
Whatever that second weekend is.
9, 10, 11.
Yeah, 9, 10, 11.
It's the board meeting is the Thursday night. And then I'm gonna drive over that night and it's Friday, Saturday and come home Sunday.
You working, Dan?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to attend.
Ray?
I've been thinking about it. Opened up with some of the classes, thought, well, some of that's pretty pertinent, so I can go.
Sounds good. Be able to swing by tomorrow and work with Donna on getting registered?
Sure.
Be able to swing by tomorrow and work with Donna on getting registered?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then, as far as voting member for the district for that meeting, you wanna delegate that to chief or? You want me to do that, or what do you guys wanna do? I've never been to one of the conferences, so I don't even know what you're gonna be voting on. Vice President Smith might have a little more insight.
I was there last year. I don't remember a lot of voting happening, but I might not have made that meeting.
A little late for you?
Remember that, but I don't see why we wouldn't have the fire chief representing the fire district in that capacity.
Yeah. Good with that, chief?
Sure.
Okay, Item 2 is Assistant Chief Jan Fox's celebration on January 26th from 1 to 3 here at the fire station. Anything additional, Chief?
No, I am gonna attend on behalf of the district to the funeral. It's a pretty small funeral only because of the venue. But I wanted to make sure someone from the district was there. So I'll attend on the district's behalf. Anybody's welcome. We just have to call ahead to let them know, just due to the size. So if you are interested, let me know, but I'll attend on behalf, and then, yeah, from 1 to 3 o'clock here will be the meet and greet. They're gonna have some small refreshments, a little bit of food and such. So you're all welcome to that. I think a lot of the previous staff and volunteers and stuff will be here, so. Family.
Can you give me the date again, please?
25th,
26th.
that, yeah, it says 25th on this, it is 26th, sorry.
Here says 25th.
Oh, no, next meeting, I was looking at one below it. Yeah, it's 26th, 1 to 3.
Anything else before we adjourn? Good. All right, so our next meeting will be Thursday, January 25th, 2024, here at Station 1 at 6 p.m. or 1800.